Hello, everybody, and welcome back to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with the Slice of Life. I'm Shiloh, and today I'm here with Molly. Say hi, Molly.
Hello, welcome.
And today we are going to talk about Denmark. Before we get into this year's Melody Grand Prix, why don't we have just a quick little chat about how Denmark has been doing just sort of recently? Because it hasn't been great, has it?
Nope, not at all, not at all.
Mm-mm.
We thought with Saba, I think we were on, it was interesting to sort of see, and I was like, okay, maybe this would do well last year, and then completely no. So, and 2023 was a miss as well. So I'm quite curious how Denmark are gonna learn from the previous 2 years.
Right. And so the problem is that I'm not sure. Sand was I think from a technical standpoint very good, and I think probably at least some other people were sort of surprised that it didn't qualify. Like maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't the most exciting song in the world, but it was a well put together stage show and she sounded good. And I think Denmark has not fully figured out the era of the televote only semifinal is maybe their
Yeah,
main problem.
I think they kind of hit it like in 2013. They started sort of hitting stride, and then it kind of dipped. And I think you're right on they're trying to get used to the televote only type stuff for the semis. And I think 2024, like last year, was an interesting year because it was very competitive. So I can understand why Denmark didn't do as great because you had so many countries hitting it in. And I think this year is not going to be as competitive, but we do have some like big heavy hitters like Finland and maybe Sweden that can come in and take a lot of the voter share. So it really does depend, but um I think it's really difficult for Denmark because again the change in the systems and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, because the other option is that they've totally given up, which is likely, frankly. Um, but you never know. So with that on the table, let's have a chat about the songs competing in this year's Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. So do you have a favorite?
Hallucination. It is so good, but I do worry. I think this one personally is my favorite out of the lot. I've been listening to it like non-stop, but I do feel like with a lot of the sort of trendy type, I feel like we're gonna get more EDM like heavy dance ones coming down the pipeline that it could sadly get overshadowed. And I think the issue is a lot of the selection in Denmark this year are either middle of the road, like, okay, or they're like, this is good, but it could get overshadowed by all the other stuff coming in.
Hmm.
So it really does depend. But personally, I think Hallucination is like my favorite out of all the others. I think I did have some other ones as well. I really liked Supernova, and there were a couple that took me a bit more listens before I could really get off. I think there are a couple that I'm like I I put in my notes like I don't know because I think I need more time to actually listen before I can really go I hate this or I like this or whatever in the middle sort of thing. So I think selection wise it's interesting, but I think the issue is with Denmark. I think one thing they're having is there isn't as much of a variety of genres and a variety of styles going on in this national selection compared to what we've had with other national selections that have done very successfully because they've had that range to choose from. And I think that's what really helps a national selection stand out in a way.
Right. And well, like part of that is easily explained by Denmark just characteristically having fewer songs in their national final every year. But I will admit, this year's selection is pretty meh.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
thinking as well. I
don't
was like.
I have, I've playlisted one song. That song is absolutely not going to win. Um, so the one I like is Proud by Tim Shaw,
Mm.
known to Eurovision fans as the lead singer of A Friend in London. Um, dude seems to have maybe a little bit of a complicated reputation. I've done a little bit of poking around on the internet because we did a text interview with him that I published, and so I did a certain amount of poking around to like write a bio and all that. And so he's maybe a little bit of a complicated guy. But the song taken on its own merit is, it's sort of sweet. I don't know how great it would do at Eurovision, especially in this era of Eurovision. I think a lot of these songs, Denmark is really stuck in the last decade and it hasn't really caught up to this one yet. I think it's a nice song. I think it's cute. Um, and it's sort of it feels a little bit like queer coded to me. I don't think that's actually what he wrote the song about. Like I think the song is sort of about like his struggles with the music industry and his issues like coming into his own as a performer. But I think that listening to it, it comes across as very like it comes across as closeted gay a little bit. Just 'cause I wish I would have told you I'm proud of who you are, like it's fine if you feel broken, that's like a very like sort of queer kid sentiment, right? Like not necessarily one that I personally relate to so much, but the lyrics are very much like there's a narrative
Yeah.
that he's intentionally or not tapping into here. And it taken from that perspective, I think it's very sweet. Now, if you did this totally by accident, like first of all, how, dude? But but yeah, no, I think it's cute. I don't think it has a chance in hell of winning Melody Grand Prix though, or Dansk
Yeah,
Melodi Grand Prix.
I think the interesting thing is, I honestly have no clue what could take it because this is the thing with national selections. I could make a prediction, but I've been entirely wrong before, and that's the great thing that we've had. We just never
Hmm.
know. Same with the competition itself. We always something can just come out of left field and take it. I may say hallucination. I have great bets on, but I feel like different songs may come in and take that. I think the issue with hallucination is it's very by the books. It's very like trendy pop song. Like you can always like play it safe and it can do well. We have seen that many times in the big competition itself before. However, it also depends on the staging. With this song, it needs to be flashy, big, choreo, things like that. And if she cannot play that off, same with the vocals, it's going to not do well. So there's a big risk with hallucination. And I think what's done well with a lot of the other songs is playing it safe can sometimes help because you're not having to throw so much in on the staging and it works well. You're just focusing on your vocals and, making it captivating and having that stage presence. You're not having to go, right, I need dancers, pyrotechnics, this, that, and the other, choreo, everything. And um I think hallucination is betting a lot on having needs to bet a lot on that. And I
Hmm.
think if it doesn't go well, it's not gonna go well. Same with same with the usual vocals, stage presence, all that ish. There's a lot that needs to be packaged together. If she does it all amazingly on the night, she could grab this. If she doesn't, it's not gonna go well. And I think Denmark they may, it depends on what they select. I don't think any, I'm going to say this now, I don't think any of these songs have a chance of maybe top 10, top 15. But I think,
I think
yeah,
that the only one of them that even has a shot in the dark of qualifying from the semifinal is Hallucination.
yeah, no.
Unless like, and because if they pick something else, they're gonna have to really pull something out of a hat staging wise, which
Yeah.
I quite frankly don't trust them to do.
Yeah, I think same with Sand last year, like I said, was very good, but again, we never know what was going to happen. I think they didn't qualify, So are they going to throw everything at it in the wrong way, thinking that, okay, if we throw everything at it, it will do well, and then it goes wrong in their favor? Or do they decide to tone it down a little bit and put this focus on the performance itself? It really depends on what they decide to do. And this national final, I think, is one of the most un well, it's the most predictable, also unpredictable ones I've seen this season,
Yeah.
because it's like I could say, "Oh, this song is amazing," and then like a different one gets chosen. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to the live performance, I
Yeah.
think. But I think my problem with Denmark, and I think the problem with Denmark that a lot of people are having, generally, but also this year in particular, is that there aren't really any risks being taken. They're playing it
Mm.
extremely safe, extremely generic. Because if you look over at other national selections, where, as you said, there's sort of a wider variety of different kinds of music and stuff. Like if you look over at Latvia, like Latvia had everything from the ethereal folk stuff that actually did get chosen to this like very like quiet indie song, and they had like more standard Eurovision like girl ballad stuff, and they had all of this stuff to choose from that was interesting.
Mm.
And Denmark doesn't have a lot to choose from, not only because they have 8 songs or 9 songs as opposed to 20, but also because they, like, in terms of the songs that were chosen, none of them are particularly memorable. And that includes
Yeah.
Hallucination, I think.
Yeah, no,
It's
I can
very much like a go with the flow, like extremely Nordic song, you know?
Yeah, hallucination is very much like let's throw the girl bop at the wall and see what happens kind
Yeah.
of thing. I think when it comes to like a good example of national selections having a variety is Lithuania as well. But Lithuania had a variety, and so did many others as well. Like I always point out, Albania having a very similar
Mhm.
variety of songs,
Well, Albania
and
has very similar sounding songs in
yeah.
FIK every year, but they're so different
Mm,
from what the rest of Europe actually has going on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think maybe having more, I think also having more culturally, having a culturally significant song in there could be really good as well.
hmm
Having a song that's like Denmark, like that screams Denmark every year could also help
I don't
sort
know
of,
what that would be though. I
I
mean, Denmark
know.
has Denmark has often kept very far away from sort of cultural and folk traditions, which part of that is just like a Western European thing where all of the like sort of cultural and folk traditions have just kind of gotten absorbed or feel very like kind of old world in a way that like I don't know if old world is really a useful descriptor in Europe, but in the US, like part of the reason why US culture like appears so bland on the outside is because after people moved here, well, I suppose I should say like white US culture, right? Where after people from Europe moved here, it was sort of this thing of like, yeah, we don't like, I don't want this thing that is gonna like make me like stand out and look sort of like traditional and all of that. And I
Mm,
think that that mindset of not wanting to appear traditional and wanting to appear very modern and sort of homogenous is very prevalent in Western European countries generally, particularly at Eurovision. Which is why all of the interesting stuff really comes from like east of Germany, right? So,
yeah, you and then you have sort of Finland coming in with whatever Finland are doing.
well, Finland is technically east of Germany, I think. So,
Yeah, I think definitely what trips Denmark up is the lack of variety. And I'm not saying you need 30 songs in a national
yeah,
selection.
but
I'm
it's a
not
lack of imagination, right?
exactly, yeah, you can have 8 songs, but have them be different from the other. You could have like your hallucination, you could have your girl bop, you could have a ballad, but have like different genres, maybe add some like Denmark rock in there or something, add like
Yeah.
different stuff. And then you have then the Denmark public or the jury have more of a thing to go off. So at least if they end up picking a girl bop, they know that okay, yeah, let's go for that then with the
hmm
variety. Like, um, I'd say yeah. Sorry, I ran out my sentence there.
Yeah, well, I do also think part of the problem is that they think the song needs to be radio friendly, and
Yeah.
often songs that are really radio friendly don't do well at Eurovision. A, because they just sort of like get overplayed, but B, because they sound like everything else.
Mm.
And part of the spectacle for Eurovision for casual viewers in particular is to find something that like isn't like everything else and to be like, oh,
Yeah,
that's fun. I like that one. Because that's what happened, that's what happens with like Katia and all that stuff,
yeah.
right? Is like, oh, this is something I've never seen before and I don't know what it is, but it's making me have a good time. And I think that Denmark needs to pull something like that out if
Yeah,
they want to do well, which again, kind of suspect they might not want to do well and that they're
no.
sort of not trying on purpose.
Yeah, I think it could be one of those things that that's kind of England would do for a while, where it's like, yeah, if we're only on this side, like top left side is fine as long as we're on the left side, we're happy. We don't want to do anything too thingy. Let's go radio friendly, and then we'll be on the left side, kind of thing. And
And then
also,
it never works.
yeah, no. So I think that they're trying to play what the UK used to do and what Ger
hmm
Germany are now trying to do, I feel, which is just play it very safe. But that comes with a risk as well.
But I
I
want to
think
be clear on something. I maintain that the UK is still also playing it very
that
safe. This
is
is not a
true,
you guys
yes.
used to do that, right? Like,
Yeah, that is true. You're not wrong. Um, but yeah, it's very much like you can. I think if you go too much both, it's like a balancing effort. If you go too like we're gonna be super weird and off the cuff and in there, I like kind of like what Let 3 did in 2023, which was great, but you are gonna alienate some people. Whereas,
yeah, this is absolutely what's going to happen with Malta.
yeah, I feel that as well in Malta. Whereas if you go to commercial, like I feel like Denmark's trying to do, you end up having the same thing that's, like you said, same thing that's played on the radio, and people are just like, I don't want to hear the same thing that I'm hearing on the
hmm
radio. I want to hear something different. This is Eurovision, not the radio, you know? Like,
hmm
they came here to see different, like a lot of people like me come to watch Eurovision to see the different cultures and how different countries show their music industry. I've not come here to see the same thing that is going on
hmm
in every other music industry. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my little thingy on but you really have to play that balance, and I think
hmm
it is a very difficult one to strike, but it can work if done well. And I think sometimes going really weird can work, but yeah, it's not always recommended 'cause it's a
You
very
have to
big
be very
risk to do.
careful about how you do it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because if you're gonna go really weird, you have to send somebody with the charisma to pull off that kind of
Yeah,
weird,
no.
which is where Karia succeeded, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that it was like just this side of serious enough,
Mm.
and he knew exactly what he was doing, and he was
Oh,
having fun with it.
100%. Mm.
And you would never get that kind of commitment out of Denmark, or even like, or Norway, or even Sweden, frankly.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
but all of this to say, place your bets now. Where is Denmark going to place at Eurovision 2025?
It's really hard to say. I'm gonna say best bet 50 top, probably in the top 15, probably a little bit out of the top 10. I'd say that's the best. The worst is you're going left side. You're going like the other side of the board. I'm sorry, Denmark watchers. I know, but I think where a lot of the selection is either like this is gonna get overshadowed, or it's like, yeah, a lot of it is gonna. I
Yeah,
think any song in the Denmark selection this year is going to get overshadowed, and I think,
solidly
yeah,
11th to 13th in the
yeah,
semifinal. That's what we're looking
mhm,
at here.
yeah. I think best case you could probably maybe slightly have that qualifying board, like, just scathing it. But if you have the right, like I said, if you have the right song, the right staging, everything is well packaged, you're scathing qualification. But who knows? I could be
Yeah, I mean, they
entirely
could
wrong.
always prove us wrong with some kind of fantastic stage show,
Mm,
but just based off the quality of these selection songs pre-show, I don't have particularly high hopes.
yeah, no.
So that's where we're at. That's Denmark. I don't know. Is there anything else to say?
Um, my predictions for winning is I hope hallucination personally, but I think yeah, it's a bit of a gamble this national
Hmm.
selection, so I
Yeah, I
guess we'll
think
see.
Hallucination is probably their smartest bet. It's not the song
Yeah,
I like the most, but I do think it's
yeah,
the
no.
most like if you're trying to game the system with the songs that you have, you pick Hallucination.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But I still don't think it's going to do all that well.
No, and also there's a lot riding on the staging and the vocals and the
Hmm.
package being good, and if one thing is thrown off, then it's just
Yeah, then
no.
it just looks like a mess.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's so much going on in hallucination that in the song
Hmm.
itself as well. It just sometimes I do listen to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. And I think for some people it will feel
Like
over
too
too
much.
much, a bit too much,
And
even
I
when you
I
listen to
do
the song.
suspect that that's where Parasite in Norway totally fell apart, is that there was
Yeah.
just like too much happening.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you all very much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can leave us a like. You can leave us a comment. If you didn't like it, I guess you can also leave us a comment, I guess. Anyway, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have reactions, we have discussions just like this one. We have some interviews with competing artists. We also have fun stuff in the off season. The fun stuff is cool. Um, you can head over to our home base website, www.thateurovisionsite.com, for all the latest Eurovision news, interviews, editorials, rankings, and more. You can find the website on socials at that Euro site, on just like all the things. If you use it, we also probably use it, and you can find our socials in the description. And we have a podcast right now. The podcast is mostly audio clips of YouTube videos, so you might be listening to this on our podcast feed. If you are, hi. If you're not, you could be listening to this on our podcast feed, I guess. You can find that Eurovision podcast on our website, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and on some socials at that Euro podcast. So, yeah, thanks again and bye.
Bye bye.